Three ways of disclaiming the Lord, of proclaiming the Lord. One is the sermon. The second one is the choir special. And the third one is reading the Word. That composite in the Word of God is all that's necessary along with the prayers of the people. Everything else is just addendums to it. Some things about the church that we need to understand is the Church of Jesus Christ is not Presbyterian. Yet we Presbyterians are part of the Church of Jesus Christ. You don't think upside down, think right side up. God first, you second. You're just here, and the way we worship, the way we do things, well, it's our way. And we invite all those people who are Catholic and Presbyterians and Baptists and Lutherans and Episcopals and Church of God, non-denominational, come be part of this because we worship in truth and spirit. Truth is so important to God. Speaking the truth and being the truth. That's what the sermon, the word, and the music is all speaks the truth of Jesus Christ. Now today we're going to talk about the first Sundays, their great hope. Our great hope is Jesus Christ is coming back again, and we're going to be, he called me on the phone, he said next week on Thursday he's coming back, be ready, have your oil lamps lit, have lots of oil in them, and he's coming back. When we were growing up in Pittsburgh, church up on what we call Polish Hill, excuse me if you're Polish, I'm Polish, I can say that. I had a church, they built a brand new Russian Orthodox church, and on the communion table they had a light, and Christ was coming again through that light onto their communion table when he came again. And then we had street preachers, we had people, predicting the end times. We had one guy downtown Pittsburgh on the street corner. They had a cop in Pittsburgh. Well, I don't know. He directs traffic. It was wonderful. I don't know what that guy's name. We also had street preachers proclaiming the end times. We don't know the end times, but the end times is set, the day and the hour, just like Jesus' birth is set. If you look at the bookends, the first bookend is God created the heavens and the earth. The second bookend, Jesus came to redeem us because we fell. And then the third bookend is he's coming again, and he's going to take us into his presence. When you die, you're not going to hell. You're not going to Hades. You're not going to the place of the dead. In a twinkling of an eye, you'll be raised up with Jesus. That's good news. Stand on that promise. So those of us that have had cancer, those of us heart problems, those of us, medical issues, I stand on the promise of Jesus Christ. I got 2.5 years I wasn't supposed to have, so, Some of the prophecies have already come to pass that Jesus says. Some of them are being fulfilled today, and some will yet be fulfilled. The thing about Jesus' prophecy, they were and they're fulfilled. They're being fulfilled right now with Israel and things. I don't know what they are. And then he's coming. I'm going to list them here. He was going out of the temple. One of the disciples said to him, "Teacher, behold, what wonderful stones and what wonderful buildings." And Jesus said to him, "Do you see this great building? Not one stone will be left upon another, which will not be thrown or torn down." Jesus is going to prophesy the destruction of the temple. 70 AD, the Romans destroyed it. Now this is no easy task. These are 15 by 15 blocks, 60. I'm trying to pick up a 2x4, figure a 15 by 15 block. Those blocks, and it's all rubble. You go there, Wailing Wall. That prophecy is already fulfilled. Why is it so important for us now? How this prophecy and its fulfillment relates to us today, it relates to us because the prophecy which followed, Jesus speaking here about an event which took place within 40 years of his speaking. But later in this chapter, he will be speaking about events that have not happened in his life and have not happened in our life. Then they shall see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with great power and glory. That prophecy has not been fulfilled, obviously, because we're still here. Jesus begins to say to them, see to it that no one misleads you. That prophecy, that saying, is for us as well as the disciples. When the disciples went out, you read the scripture. Paul writes Romans, he writes John writes his scripture. They wrote it because people, Judaizers and people, were already preaching a gospel that was not of Christ. Oh, he wasn't really a man, he just was an apparition, just a ghost. Oh, he was totally human, he wasn't divine, and he didn't die, he married Mary Magdalene. That's still going on today at Purdue University at a big, that's why so many Presbyterian ministers don't believe Christ died on the cross, because they buy that stuff. The point is that you're all ready for the tribulation, which Christ says will happen. We should be prepared. If it happens next Thursday, the tribulation, I'm prepared. My oil lamp is filled with oil, and it's lit, and I'm ready to go. Prophecy is paradoxical. Prophecy persuades us. If you listen to that prophecy, it should persuade you. If he's coming again on a cloud, I want to be ready. That should persuade you to be ready. When you see the admonition of destitution standing where it should not be, let the reader understand. The things that you need to know about this passage is the prophecy originally given in the book of Daniel, which has been filled in this letter. Daniel gave prophecy when he went to Babylon. His prophecy is fulfilled. In 166 BC, the king of the north, ruler named Epiphanes, had come into Jerusalem and had set up an idol of himself in the temple and had passed a law that he would be worshipped. Now Jesus is saying this is going to happen again. And what they do, they worship him. And that's why the destruction of the temple, that's why all the problems. This is going to happen again. Did you know within 40 years the Roman general, Titus, destroyed the temple? Jesus makes a prophecy about destruction of the temple, which comes about, and he fulfills two phases. The upper structure of the temple was destroyed by the Roman general. During Bar Kochba Kochba revolt in 132, the Roman Emperor Hadrianus burnt the temple area so that the gold melted and flowed down into the surrounding valley. 132, he lit it on fire. All the gold in the temple flowed down in the valley. What I say to you is I say to be alert. So the setting of the sermon today is Jesus and the disciples are coming out of the temple. Get this picture. They're coming out of the temple, and the same temple out of which they drove the money changers the day before. He said in the tent, he drives the money changers out. He's ticked off at them. And then they're coming out, and they ask the question, Jesus finished fielding a series of subtle attacks on the heads of the religious leaders. When he drives the money changers up, he goes after the religious leaders and puts a lot of things on them. He gets angry with them. You sons of vipers. Now, they were listening to Jesus and the religious leaders, but they didn't get the whole thing. And they're coming out, look at this beautiful temple. If you're a Jew, you understand the temple was everything. It's the center of worship, but also the destruction of it would be unthinkable. This is our power. This is our place of worship. This is everything. I think the temple meant more to them than God did, obviously, because they killed his son. Question is are we moved more interested in the buildings and our heritage? That's why I started with Presbyterian, than we are about Jesus Christ. Anybody walking in here, I don't care what denomination you belong to, I don't care what your treatise is, Jesus Christ is paramount. Loving Jesus Christ through the Spirit because it's in us. In the name of the Father. And Jesus said to them, do not you see these great buildings? He answered them. destroyed. Not one stone upon the other. This building will be destroyed. I hope someday we tear it down, build a new one back there with 500 people come. I don't know. That'd be wonderful. I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's in my lifetime, but it may happen in the next generation. To understand the significance of what Jesus is saying, when the Jews look at the temple, that's everything to them. There's a lesson here. It is that you should never place your source of prestige in what is temporal. What is the basis of your identity? Is it your job? Is it the car you drive? The house you live in? Brenda and I have been blessed with this house. We've had 35 years of marriage.
36.
She had 36, I only had 35. I don't know what we had 36 years. I'm glad I married her. I said to her the other day, I said, I admire her. She's so patient, so kind, and I'm not. But what's temporal? Our marriage is temporal. When we get to heaven, we won't be married people. We're all going to love each other equally. We don't have to have children up there. We're going to have them here. We're to take these children with us to heaven. That's the idea. The real source of identity is Christianity is Jesus Christ living inside of us through the Spirit. And we're not perfect people. Ken and I play golf, and on the golf course we tell jokes. So I've got to take this brief moment, set the sermon aside, and tell you this joke. So this granddaughter was talking to his grandfather. He says, "Grandfather, I really admire you, how you talk to Grandma. You always call her dear and honey and all these words of endearment." I said, "That's wonderful." He said, "Well, I'll tell you the truth. 6 years ago I forgot her name, and so I've been calling her that. I was afraid to ask." I thought that was a good one anyway. So we tell jokes and we have good fellowship. And you know, in the men's breakfast we have good fellowship. I hope they have that at the women's luncheon when Kathy sends places for you to go out to eat. I hope that happens in the choir and fellowship within these things. Sunday morning the women get together in the fellowship hall for their breakfast. The disciples mulled over the prediction of the destruction of the temple all the way to the city. They got thinking about this. Finally, they're talking to each other. Finally, someone has enough courage to ask Jesus. They get to the Mount of Olives. That's you can look over Jerusalem. So they're looking over Jerusalem, which I don't know. I've never been there, but I've seen pictures, and people have been there. Said it's a beautiful sight to see the Mount of Olives and looking over the temple. When will these things happen, Jesus? When will this? And what will be the sign that all these things will going to happen? It's evident the question should be the same question we're having. When are you coming back? He really doesn't give a definitive answer. And he's not going to give us a definitive answer when he's coming back. Look at the parables. Have your oil lamp filled with oil. Have it lit. Don't be one of the 10 bridesmaids that doesn't have an oil lamp. Be prepared like it's going to happen tonight, 10 years from now, or when you're dead and gone in the next generation. Tell them. And Jesus began to say to them, "See to it that no one misleads you." Because this is, 2,200 years later, and it still hasn't come. Many will come in my name saying, "I am he," and will mislead many. It is hard enough to find truth without being misled. I think some people get misled easily. They get doped. When you hear, when I think about that, I think of all the charlatans who are ministers. They glean money out of people. There was a guy down in North Carolina. Have anyone been to North Carolina? Oh yeah. So this guy, Diane Sawyer brought him out. He had a ministry. He went to Russia and preached a revival there. And he got this boy who was crippled, and he did that, and he raised this big church. So he's on TV. I'm going to tell you the rest of the story. He's on TV, and he's in his shorts and Bermuda shorts and a nice shirt. His wife, and they're crying, asking for money because their house burned down. Well, here's the truth. His house burned down, but they haven't lived in it for 10 years. They've been living up the hills in North Carolina. And Diane Sawyers went in And the maid opened the door, and she I love this. My friend loves shoes, who came and preached to you, and she showed the closet. This woman's closet was about 15 by 15 filled with shoes. They had a mansion up in North Carolina. That house had burned down, they hadn't been living in. When he went to Russia, he went to the airport, put up bleachers, paid people to get in the bleachers, and came home and preached a revival in Russia while he was home. He went to this orphanage, got one boy that was missing arms and legs, took a picture of him, and raised millions of dollars for this one kid. Everybody was, make a wish, get this kid, you send $10. The guy was a charlatan, but people buy into it. Jim Baker is another good example. The guy flying around his jet planes, another example. The truth is, Jesus is a simple story, and he's not a moneymaker. If someone's asked, I've never asked for your money. I don't know what you give, unless you tell me. Some people like to tell me what they give. That's up to them. It's not about the money. It's about loving God, loving others, giving abundantly and growing deeper. I probably never will have a jet airplane and fly around. I've seen miracles. When Art Michael died, he woke up an hour and a half later. I didn't get a chicken dinner out of it. I didn't even get thank you. I had nothing to do with it. The church didn't grow, but his wife became a believer. When I look at the miracles in my life that happened, like my miracle, and the different miracles, God is God and he heals who he wants, when he wants, but it's never about money. It's never about money. Jesus, all the things he did, he walked on the road. He had nowhere to lay his head. He didn't make money. If you look at all the things that Jesus described and feel that he is describing in your generation, you aren't alone. Take a look at Israel. Take a look at Ukraine. Take a look at wars and rumors of war. I don't know if you pay attention. I love history. And look at the wars and rumors of war since they never quit. It goes on and on. It's when they stop that you pay attention, because then something wonderful is going to happen. The woman said, I am greatly multiplied my pain in childbirth. In pain you shall bring forth this child. That was one example where he talks about the birth pains. The other example was, for nations will rise against nations and kingdoms against kingdoms. I look at history and it never quits. They will be earthquakes in various places. They don't quit either. They will also be famines. And these things are merely the beginning of birth pangs. This has been going on for 2,000 years. If you look at all these things that Jesus described and feels that he is describing your generation, that's true. It's every generation. Disciples felt that they were talking about their generation too. Indeed, they were. The world has been experiencing this since the fall. The world translated birth pangs is only found 4 times in the New Testament. I gave you 2 of them. One is the parallel version of Matthew about with that one in Mark. Matthew and Mark give birth pangs. And God raised them up again, putting to an end to the agony of death, since it was impossible for him to be held in his power. Since the fall of man have been suffering the birth pains of death. The day Adam and Eve walked out of the garden, we've been experiencing the birth pains of death. We tried to blow it up in World War II with atom bombs. I don't know. The threat of nuclear war is around us. Putin's nuts. I don't know about our leaders. The point that Jesus is making is that you should think the second coming is near when you hear of wars, rumors of wars, earthquakes, and famines. The point is just the opposite. When you hear of these things, it's not the end. That's the ongoingness of it. These wars and rumors of war are not the end. When you hear those things that are no longer before us, that's when the end is coming. Pay attention. When the wars and rumors of war are over, he's coming back. Between the day when Jesus spoke these words and the fall of Jerusalem in 70 AD, there are 4 major earthquakes. Crete, Rome, Pompeii, Campion, AD 62. There are also many famines. Acts 12, the temptation of the early church would be to see the devastation. Now we're going to pick up on this next Sunday. I'm going to talk more about the end times. But I think the thing today, the great hope is Jesus Christ. Our great hope is our lamps are full and lit, and we're prepared to receive Him whenever it happens. And know that wars and rumors of war are ongoing. When they stop, that'd be good news because He's coming again.